Hi, this is Eric from the Longbox Review Comic Book Podcast, and this is The Gutters, my audio journal. So, hey, hi, how you doing? It's been a while, I know. As of this recording, it has been just days over a year since I last released a Gutters episode. And, all I can say is stuff happened in the last year. Nothing major or anything, but, I continued to take notes for the Gutters episodes that I was going to do throughout 2023 and into 2024. But, just it got away from me, and I concentrated on releasing episodes for the comic book related stuff and Star Trek related stuff. And my family was busy doing things, vacation-wise, a couple of vacations in the last year, of which I will talk about eventually. But what I'm going to do, because I as I said, I took all these notes, and they just stacked up. And I do want to talk about these things. So what I'm going to do, instead of doing my usual format, which is talking about stuff in my life and then media that I've consumed, TV, movies, podcasts, that kind of stuff, I am going to do I'm going to do a few catch-up episodes. Catch-up. Briefs, I think I'm going to call them. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it even as I record this one. So this episode of The Gutters is going to be just me talking about all of the highlight the TV and movies that I have consumed in the last year. One of which is a movie that we watched last night. So we'll start with television. The first thing I have on here is Star Trek Picard, which I did cover with Daryl Taylor on the Center Seat episodes in the feed. Let's see here. I think that's starting with episode 15 back in November. No, or maybe that was the last one. Anyway, it's in the feed. And then we did several episodes. We did, I think, 4 or 5 episodes about Star Trek Picard Season 3. So please go listen to those. That was a lot of fun. So there's that. And then was I'm a big rugby fan, and fortunately, through the Peacock app, I can watch the Guinness Six Nations rugby tournament, which I did, and which is actually now going on as I record this, and I have not been watching it because we've just been so busy with things, and I need to get back to that. But I also need to record episodes for the podcast and take lots of notes, and so I will get there eventually. But what I did watch last Six Nations tournament, I very much was interested in watching Ireland and how they did, which they did very well. Particularly enjoyed watching the Ireland versus Scotland and the Ireland versus England matches. I always root for Ireland because they're my team, but Scotland, I felt, had the strength for a lot of the match, for their match then. And now I'm curious what it's going to be like this year, because there's been some at the end. Well, I'll get to that. But later there was some changes with the Irish rugby team, and so I'm curious how that's going to play out. Anyway, and then I also had a thrill watching Ireland or even Scotland thump England. Nothing against England generally, but that history between those two or those nations is just like, it's played out on the rugby field. Anyway, so that led into the Rugby World Cup, which is every 4 years, and it was quite the spectacle. So Ireland was the number one ranked team going into the Rugby World Cup, and they've been in the Rugby World Cup for many years, and there's this, I hate to say, there's a bit of a curse, apparently, because they make it to the quarterfinals and they get knocked out, and somebody else has won several years in a row. And so I was rooting so hard for them and hoping, and they played so well. And so did Scotland. And what was the other team that was playing really, really well? I want to say maybe France was doing well. Anyway, it was so disappointing when Ireland made it to the quarterfinals and they lost. They lost. And the ultimate winner, I believe 2 years in a row, was South Africa. And this is what made it so really disappointing, or not really, but even more so was that as I was watching the highlights and many of the games, South Africa wasn't dominating the games like Ireland was, but they won each stage match to eventually come out on top. And I, yeah, and the Rugby World Cup, like I said, is every 4 years, so I have to wait another 3 years before I get to see how Ireland does again. But I'm so hoping, double fingers, toes crossed, yep, that I can attend one of the matches in Ireland at that time. So in 3 years' time, I hope to be there in the stadium watching one of those games. Anyway, no jinxes. So that's sports on TV. But anyway, it was TV. I something I quite enjoyed, and like I said, I need to start watching that maybe next weekend. Anyway, next we watched Good Omens season 2, which I've talked about this show before, and how much I loved that first season, and we got a second one, and all I can really say is a tragic love story is what this was. I don't think it was there wasn't much of a plot to this one compared to the first season, but it didn't matter because what this was a showcase for Crowley and Aziraphale, and played wonderfully by those actors. And then what was funny was Maddie started watching season 1 because she got interested in when we were watching the episodes for season 2. And so she started, I kept saying, you got to watch season 1. You got to watch season 1. And so she started watching season 1. And when I was present for some of that, I started noticing things that happened in season 1, bits of dialogue, exchanges between Crowley and Aziraphale that have direct connections to things in season 2. And that is just beautiful writing and beautiful acting. And I kind of like the comic books I read sometimes, where I go back and revisit old stuff. I want to go back and rewatch both seasons, and eventually I will. But such good stuff. I also went through a bit of a cooking show phase, where on the Pluto channel, which is a free channel or network, it's not a channel per se, because there are channels on Pluto. Anyway, so it just repurposes stuff, and you can watch all this stuff for free. It's like watching cable or satellite for free. But you only get so many things. Anyway, it doesn't matter, because what I did watch there, and that's actually where, I'm sorry for all these asides, I a little scatterbrained, but it's where I watch a lot of old Star Trek episodes as well, because they have 2 dedicated Star Trek channels, and I'll just pop those on and see what's on, and if I like the episode, I'll watch it. Anyway, but the other thing that I got into was these 2 cooking shows, and specifically there's one that I caught called Nigelissima. And it's this English chef who loves Italian food in Italy, and she would show off a bunch of her Italian dishes as she cooks them in her English kitchen. Anyway, so really simple, easy stuff to do, and it just looks delicious. I've made 1 or 2 of her dishes, and one was good, the other not so great, and that's on me, not not because of the recipe or anything, but man, does it look good. And she was quite fetching, so it was nice to watch that. The other one, which I think is the better show, is Nigel Slater. He has a couple of these shows. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the names of them, and I forgot to write them down because I'm an idiot. Yeah, I don't remember. Anyway, so what he does is there's a couple of things he does. One is one show is based on, he goes shopping at the beginning of the week, and then he cooks for every day. He cooks a meal or a snack or something with the stuff that he buys at market that week. And so, and he buys, all fresh foods and all this stuff. And he even talks about, leftover stuff, how you can incorporate that into your meals and basically make your dollars stretch a little further. And I really like that. And I've tried a few of his recipes. There's another one he does as well that I can't remember exactly what that premise is, but basically the same thing. It's like, well, use good, wholesome, fresh foods is what I mean to say, and you can make some really simple but delicious dishes, and I love that. So now I'm hungry, and I want to go watch some more of their shows. All right. And then at the end of 2023, we watched new Doctor Who, David Tennant, returning as the Doctor in, what was it, 3 specials that they did around Christmas time, and returning as his companion, whom I think is the best one that he was paired up with, was Donna Noble. And I know that's a somewhat controversial opinion, but that I love all of his companions, but I think Donna Noble was his most equal in the partnership that they had together, and it was just lovely to see them back together and kind of a return to normality, so to speak, between them, because of how, if you know what went on with Donna at the end of her tenure as his companion, if they were ever to get back together, that was bad news. But they resolved that. We had Neil Patrick Harris coming onto the show, playing a returning character, which I was not familiar with, because that was one of the older Doctors, one of the previous generation before the 2005 reboot of Doctor Who. But he did an awesome job. Sometimes a little over the top, but but it was still enjoyable. I really liked how they upped the tech of the sonic screwdriver at one point. But otherwise, the first couple were, these were not bad. But I didn't really see a through line. I mean, they started, they made a mention of, a bigger bad in the first one. And in the second one, there was some stuff said about a possible connection to things and expanding that idea of there's something else out there. And then in the third episode, we get it. But then, like I said, because of the performance, it was kind of deflated. I felt that sense of danger was kind of deflated in the way that Neil Patrick Harris portrayed that character, and also just because of the dialogue that they were given. And then at the end, I hope this isn't a spoiler thing. But it was a surprise to me. We actually got introduced to the new Doctor, the one that's taking over, I believe, this year in 2024. And that was interesting. The way they did that. I'm not a big fan of what they did exactly. And if you haven't seen this and you want to, and don't want to be spoiled, you might want to skip ahead a little bit. Basically, what they did is the Doctor. Okay, again, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. What they did is Tennant's Doctor got blasted, and he's gonna regenerate, but there's something that happens sometime. Apparently, it's a myth, or I don't know what. They're just throwing things out there, making stuff up. But instead of him regenerating into a new Doctor, he is split. They're bifurcated in a sense, and now there are two. There are 2 Doctors. So Tennant gets to go off and enjoy life as basically human, hanging out with Donna Noble and her family and just relaxing. He deserves a vacation. So that's kind of how I took it. And then the new Doctor gets to go off and have adventures, and they both have TARDISes. And I kind of feel like Tennant has been anointed as the best Doctor. And while I can't disagree that he is a great Doctor, he is not my favorite Doctor, but not, the margin is very slim because David Tennant is such a fantastic actor and he plays that part so well. But, I feel like it was kind of a slap in the face to all the other doctors and the new one. It's like, well, yeah, he's the new doctor, but it was kind of like there's an asterisk now next to his name. Yes, he's the new doctor, but David Tennant's over here and he could return anytime. I didn't like that decision. But at the same time, on the flip side, if they had killed Tennant's doctor again, that would have been bad. That would have been very hard to take. So, and they're TV characters. What does it really matter? But so I'm really looking forward to. Well, I mean, I did see an episode, the Christmas special with the new doctor, and he is great. He's got this energy that I don't think we've ever seen with other doctors. I mean, Matt Smith had this manic energy sometimes, but there's always also this bit of menace beneath it that he did so well, which is why he's my favorite doctor. But I'm blanking on the new doctor's name. Anyway, so the new doctor, like I said, just has all this energy, and he's got this wonderful style about him, the attitude and the way he dresses. Maddie loves him because of that. I'm just really looking forward to discovering what this new doctor brings to the whole Doctor Who universe. So, and then finally for TV, I want to say that we finished finally, just recently, as of within the last week, Ted Lasso. And I think I've talked about Ted Lasso before, but oh my God, we love this show. I love this show so much. There was about a year and a half ago-ish, I was going through some bad times. And watching Ted Lasso really helped me deal with it in a sense, just at the very least, providing some great comedy to lighten my mood. There was also some stuff about seeing how Ted's panic attacks was portrayed and how he dealt with them. That really helped me out. And I think I'm going to talk about that in another Gutters episode. I mean, I've talked a little bit about it, but there's been some developments since then. Anyway, I'm a future topic. But it was bittersweet, but also it was such a great ending. I'm sad that I don't get to see all those characters anymore, because it's not, Ted's great, but it's all the other characters. His boss, I can't remember her name either. Keeley, Jamie, even the guy that I started out just despising, and I ended up loving him too. But mostly Roy fucking Kent. That guy just cracks me up every time. And speaking of cracking up, that penultimate episode of Ted Lasso had me had me in stitches almost the entire time. I was laughing so hard and so much. And that is what Ted Lasso brought to me, was joy, a certain amount of joy, a certain kind of joy that I really needed back then. And it was nice to come into the new year-ish with a bit of that as well. So if you've not watched Ted Lasso on Apple Plus TV or Apple TV, I don't know, whatever the hell it is, I highly encourage it. I doubt they will, but if they ever release this on disc, I am grabbing that up because I want to be able to watch that forever. So, okay, so that's all the TV stuff I've got right now. Obviously I watched other things, but those are the things I really wanted to talk about. Movies, let's go to those. So, I have been on a journey to watch all of the Bond films because I don't think I watched any of the Roger Moore movies. I did not watch any of the Dalton movies. So I was working my way through those, and I've talked about this before, but oh my God, the Roger Moore movies were such a slog. Did not like, except for one. I think The Man with the Golden Gun was the only one I really liked. And then I watched the Timothy Dalton films because I'd heard that those were the best of that time. And while I liked Dalton's performance, it's kind of like the scripts were written for Moore, but then Dalton had to come in and perform them, and they didn't change anything to fit his style. So there was a bit of that hokiness that's in all the Moore movies, which I did not like, but I liked Dalton's a bit more of his more intense attitude about him. But he only had two movies, and so I wish we would have gotten at least one more from him. I've not seen all the Brosnan movies, but I've seen a few, and quite honestly, those as well. It's like they just kind of embrace that hokiness that is Bond. I know. They did that with Connery too, and everybody. There's a bit of hokiness, but it just seemed like it reached a fever pitch, starting with Moore and just building up, and maybe a little dip with Dalton, but then they did it more with Brosnan. I don't know. I like Brosnan. He's a great actor, but I don't feel the need now to watch the rest of his movies that I have not seen. So I think I'm done with my my Bond movie journey. And so if I were to rank the Bonds from least favorite to favorite, this is how I would do it. Roger Moore, George Lazenby next, Pierce Brosnan, Timothy Dalton, Sean Connery, and my favorite Bond, and I think the best Bond movies of all of them, Daniel Craig. You could disagree. You can let me know what your favorite. How do you rank the Bonds? So, and I know there was some when I was posting about some of the Roger Moore movies, there were some folks that responded on social media saying that Roger Moore was their guy. It's like Doctor Who. Your first Who is your favorite Who, or the first comic books that you read as a kid. Those are your favorites. That kind of a thing. I get that. No disparagement. I just didn't like Moore's delivery. I didn't like his style. I didn't like the movies. I just didn't enjoy them. Anyway, a movie I did enjoy a lot was, and so I'm sure some of you are going to laugh or roll your eyes or maybe even clap, depending on how you feel about Taylor Swift. But I went to the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie in October of last year, 2023, and I particularly loved it. I'm a bit of a Swiftie now, I think. Daughter has long been a fan of Taylor Swift. In fact, Taylor Swift, when she first put out that first album, she was touring college campuses at the time, and she came to our little hamlet. And I think Brittany was still in high school when she came, and she was on my daughter was on the cusp, or not the cusp. She was on the cutting edge of new music and artists and whatnot. And Taylor Swift was on her radar. Nobody else in her peer group knew about her. But why did I ended up taking her to that concert? And I don't know why I went with her. It was at on the college campus. There may have been an age thing. I don't know now. But Taylor back then, of course, was country music, and I've never really been into country music, especially at that time, more modern country music. And but I went, and she was fine. I could not tell you anything that she played. I'm sure it was all the songs off of her first album, which I know of the Tim McGraw song, and that's it. I'm sure I know others, but I'm forgetting now. Anyway, afterwards, I was really impressed because afterwards, Taylor did basically a meet and greet with everybody, anybody who wanted to say hi. And she was at near the entrance, and she was just saying hi to everybody. And Brittany talked to her for a second. It was Brittany's birthday. It was a birthday present, I think, me taking her to that. And I was really impressed with Miss Swift in the way that she conducted herself and how she treated her fans. And so, going through the years, I liked some of her songs, but it was more recently with the two albums that, and I'm forgetting the names of those, that she released during the pandemic. She released two albums, I think, within a year. And then she released Midnights, which is the latest album that she has released. And then she went on tour and did this Eras Tour thing. Anyway, my daughter has gone to see one of the concerts, one of the Eras Tour concerts, and I was really bummed that I couldn't go. But actually, she told me about there was another leg of the tour added, and now we are going to Canada, one of the shows in Canada, to see. But I didn't know that at the time when I went to see the Eras Tour movie. But my daughter said it was so great, and all that stuff. And I saw video clips and all these things. I'm like, oh, so disappointing. And then the movie, they announced it. I went. We Maddie and my wife and I all went to see the movie, and it was great. Not obviously not as great as being there in person, but I really enjoyed that, and I cannot wait to go to that. Let's see. Next up, I'm sure I've seen again, like the TV. I've seen other movies, but they're not really. They didn't really make a big impression, and we didn't. I don't know that we ever did. I'm pretty sure we went to a couple of movies in the theater now, but I don't remember what they were because all of these, well, besides the Taylor one, all the rest of these movies we watched at our house through streaming. So, and this is one I've been waiting to watch for a long time, but I'm too cheap and I didn't want to pay for it before it was available through one of the services that I already pay for, and that is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And if you've heard about this movie and the hype about it and the positive reviews and the love for it, and I'm just here to tell you, it's all true. It's a great movie. It's probably one of the best movies I've seen in years. You got that multiversal aspect. It's got a great heart to it. The relationships between the main character, the mother and wife, with her family, and just everything that they show. The what do they get, the hot dog fingers and everything. It's those are kind of the things that people kind of glom onto, but there's a point to it, and there is a poignancy to this movie that I would not expect, and it's just so good. I highly encourage you to go watch that movie. Another movie I enjoyed, not as much as Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which I think is a great way to end the trilogy. It really showed the heart of the team, the way that they feel about each other, because you could see this wonderful growth of all the characters with some backsliding of Gamora and what happened with her in one of the other movies. I don't remember which one. Was it in 2 or was it in one of the other movies that because they all cross over. So I like that with Rocket and his origin and what he was dealing with, and Star-Lord and what he had to deal with Gamora, and just showed a lot of love between these characters. So yeah, that was enjoyable. And then finally, my last topic, the movie that we just watched last night was The Marvels, and I have been hearing for weeks, I guess, not that great, and it's here. This is the beginning of the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's reign, and maybe all that's true, but I enjoyed the movie. In fact, I liked it more especially for Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel. She is a delight. Now, Maddie and I started watching. We watched the first episode of the Ms. Marvel series. And I thought, oh, this is enjoyable. This is imaginative. I love what they did with that. Even just one episode, and so we've been meaning to go back and watch that. But it's really kind of interesting and weird to see some TV characters be transferred into a major motion picture, including Kamala Khan's family. And there was more about her and her family than there was about Captain Rambeau and Carol herself. I mean, all of them had some emotional stuff they were dealing with, but I felt like more of the stuff that I was reacting to was the stuff going on with Kamala. And I do agree that the movie was it wasn't sure what it wanted to be exactly, and maybe that has to do in part because of the the number of the three major characters in the movie, but I didn't feel like that there was enough between them. And their relationship was kind of, there was a little bit of tension between Rambeau and Danvers, and a little awkwardness between Kamala and the other two, especially Carol. But it was pretty well resolved without any incident and just kind of brushed aside. And the rest of it was more about the conflict between one of the Cree, I forget her name now, one of the Cree members that wanted revenge basically on Carol for what she did to the Supreme Intelligence. And, that is an interesting idea, paying for the sins of your past. But I don't know, it didn't quite work the way I think they wanted it to, and the way that I wanted it to. But I still enjoyed it. There were some great moments. Like I said, Kamala Khan was a delight. And then we get the very end of it. Well, not the very end. So the credit scene. And if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled about this, it's not that big of a deal. But maybe hit that fast forward button. But it was interesting to see Rambeau wake up after this incident near the end of the film in the X-Men movie universe. Two things about this. Well, one, I really enjoyed seeing, or hearing, I guess, Kelsey Grammer return as the Beast. I don't remember which last movie that we saw him appear as the Beast, but it was a while ago now. I think it was during the original X-Men movie run, not the second set of movies. Anyway, I'm sure I'm wrong about that, but the thing I did not like about it is, and I don't like this generally about when movies do this, when TV shows do this, is when we get a doppelganger character, and it just so happens that doppelganger character has a connection to our character, our lead or whatever. And it's all it's all for a sleight of hand. It's all for a trick. It's all for a joke or something. And it didn't, why was Rambeau's mom in the X-Men universe, why was she the one that was there beside her bed instead of somebody else? And it was all just to do that sleight of hand thing, which is, oh, mom's alive. And now I get to have a relationship with the mom I never, the 5 years that I didn't have a relationship with her because I was blipped. But no, it's not her. She doesn't have a daughter. She's binary in this, which is, whatever, nice connection to Carol. Right? Because was Carol? Am I thinking about that right? Carol at one point in the comics was binary? I think that's right. Anyway, let me know if I'm wrong about that. So yeah, I don't like that generally, but crossing over to the X-Men universe, woo, that's kind of cool. What they do with it now, I don't know. But, not a bad movie, not a great movie. I would say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was a slightly better movie. But Everything Everywhere All at Once is the best movie ever, so go watch that. All right, so that's it. That's my The Gutters TV and movie edition. My TV movie brief, I think. I don't know what the hell I'm going to call this. So I'm going to do shows, stage shows that I watched, musicals and plays and concerts, and I'm going to talk about some podcasts and a couple other things next. And then I'm going to do what went on with my life, things I did with my family and whatnot. That'll be the third catch-up episode of The Gutters that I'll be doing. So stay tuned for those, if you will, and thanks for listening. I know it's funny because when I talk about upcoming episodes, a couple people have on social media have said, "Is it a Gutters episode? When are you going to release a Gutters episode?" I get a lot of feedback on the Gutters episodes, so I thank you for that. I'm glad you enjoy these. Yeah, I apologize for taking over a year to get a new one out. It was weird. It was a weird year in some ways, but anyway, I'll get those out along with a bunch of other comic book related stuff that I've taken notes on in the last few weeks. So I'm excited to put out some new episodes. Just got to record them, edit them, and then get them out there. So Anyway, come back for all that, and I will talk to you later. Bye bye.